So hello, my name is Wendy Royal, and I'm one of the organizers of the South African Film Festival. I have with me today Dr. Imtiaz Soliman, who is the founder of the organization Gift of the Givers, and film director Kevin Harris, whose film Best Among People focuses on this organization. So welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for joining me. I am thrilled to have you here. Okay, so Kevin, I'm going to start with you. I was reading your biography and I noticed that you and I had been at university in Durban, in Natal University, Durban, at the same time in the early 70s. I don't think our paths ever crossed because I graduated with a degree in political science and English literature, while you graduated as an electrical engineer. So my first question to you is, how did you go from being an electrical engineer to becoming one of the most successful documentary filmmakers in South Africa with a career spanning 40 years?
Thank you, Wendy, and good evening to you and to Dr. Soliman. Short story, short version. I was good at maths and science at school. I had an uncle who was an engineer. So the automatic thing was vocational guidance wasn't big in those days. So, you're good at maths and science. Okay, you can do this, that, and that. So, engineering, that's what you should do. I was playing in a garage band at the time. I was interested in popular music. I really wanted to do something creative, but my mother's influence, she said, good to get a degree. It's always something to fall back on. So off I went to Durban University and I did electrical engineering. But the more I did it, the more I realized that I really did not want to be an engineer because it wasn't a creative space at that time. There was not new design and things like that. You were basically doing maintenance and installation and things like that. But in my final year, the SABC came around recruiting. And I thought, wow, there's a big organization. They got lots going on there, and their studios, and there's music, and they do dramas and all this kind of thing. Maybe I can find something creative there. So I joined, but as an engineer. When I then got there, I think it was 1974, I said, guys, I'm sorry, I don't want to go up on masts and do maintenance, etc. I'm really looking to do something creative. And they were very sympathetic, actually. They said, no, television is just starting up. We're on the first course. Sure, go down to the television training studio and have a look. And I walked in and I said, this is what I want to do. I don't care. I'll make tea. I'll sweep the floor. But this is where I want to go. And they were very sympathetic. And they said, sure, just stick in the engineering office for the next 2 months, and you can go on the second production course. And that's what I did. I went on the second production course. I was made a production assistant. I then moved across into documentaries because I realized that was where serious filmmaking occurred. And I became a junior producer. And then the realization that, in fact, we kind of knew, there were very good filmmakers in the documentary department. And I was a junior, and I learned a lot from them. And one by one, because of the frustrations of trying to do things that were relevant and had meaning, but in this politically oppressed environment, one by one, they resigned and left. And then my turn came, and I was made a producer, and I made a film on Baragwanath Hospital, and they liked the film. They liked the film very much because it affirmed what was happening through these amazing people, doctors, etc., at the hospital for the community of Soweto. But they didn't like what I'd showed about the conditions under which the people in Soweto were living. And they insisted that I cut the film. So long story short, I just sat and I thought the only thing I can do is tell them that I will cut the film and then not cut the film. And that's exactly what I did. And the film went out exactly as I had made it. It was a great relief off my shoulders. That yes, I've done the right thing. And I was fired within 24 hours. And that was the start of my independent career as a South African documentary filmmaker.
Oh, amazing story, Kevin. Thank you for that. And really, good luck to the South African industry that you changed your career. So, Dr. Soliman, you also did not have a direct career path because you graduated as a physician and then became the founder of this remarkable organization. Could you tell us about your journey?
Yes, I was in final year. I finished final year, medicine in 1984. I was doing the internship in 85. And while I was doing internship, I said to myself that I like to specialize further. I want to be an internal medicine specialist, a physician. But unfortunately, there were not many opportunities at the time. So I couldn't get a post to study further. The only option left was to go into private practice, general practice, which I did not want to do. And in August 1991, I landed up in Istanbul. I found a spiritual place. I found a spiritual teacher. And I was amazed because this was post-Gulf War. And Gulf War had polarized civilizations and nations. The perception was Christians, Jews, and Hindus on one side, and Muslims on the other side. East on one side, and West on the other side. And coming from an apartheid past didn't help. But when I walked inside there, I was stunned. We saw Americans, Russians, people from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Germany, Canada, America, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, parts of Southeast Asia, and Africa. Different religions, Christians of different denominations, Hindus, Muslims, Jews, people who say they don't follow any faith system. But there was absolute peace and understanding and love amongst the people. I couldn't fathom this out. I saw the spiritual teacher. He saw the shock on my face. He said, "What do you see?" in Turkish. I said, "I'm confused. I'm seeing people of different nationalities and different countries in a Muslim holy place. And we fought wars with these different groups all over the world." He said, "My son, you see correct. But understand that mankind is one single nation. The God of all mankind is one. We just call him by different names. The essence of religion is love, peace, compassion, and mercy." I left. The following year, the yearning was very strong. 6 August 1992, Thursday night, 10 p.m., after a religious ceremony, the spiritual teacher picks his head up, makes eye contact with me, and looks heavenward at the same time. In fluent Turkish, and I don't speak a word of Turkish, but I understood every single word that he said in Turkish that night. He said, "My son, I'm not asking you, I'm instructing you to form an organization. It was not my idea. I'm not asking you, I'm instructing you to form an organization. The name in Arabic will be Waqful Waqifin. Translated, gift of the givers. You will serve all people of all races, all religions, all colors, all classes, all cultures, of any geographical location and of any political affiliation, but you will serve them unconditionally. You will expect nothing in return, not even a thank you. This is an instruction for you for the rest of your life." I was 30 years old. Serve people with love, kindness, compassion, and mercy, and remember the dignity of man is foremost. So if somebody is down, don't push them down. Hold them, elevate them. Clothe the naked, feed the hungry, provide water to the thirsty. And in everything you do, be the best at what you do. Remember, my son, that whatever you do is done through you and not by you. I asked him, "How is it when you speak Turkish, I understand, and other people, when they speak Turkish, I don't understand?" He said, "My son, when the hearts connect and the souls connect, the words become understandable." I said, "What exactly is it that I must do? I'm a doctor. I have 3 practices in a place called Pietermaritzburg in South Africa. What do you want me to do exactly?" He told me one line: "You will know." For 32 years, I do know what to do, what not to do, what to touch, what not to touch, how to do, and how not to do.
That is an amazing, astonishing story, Dr. Soliman. So here you are, a young man, trained as a doctor. You go back to Pietermaritzburg, a small town in KwaZulu-Natal, and you tell your friends and your family, you're not going to be a doctor anymore. You're going to start this organization because you've had instructions in a language you don't understand. What was their reaction? Did they think you were completely crazy?
My father was said, do you know what you're doing? He lives in a place called Potchefstroom. That's where I was born. And he said, are you sure? How are you going to survive? What are you going to do? You studied for 7 years. This was your life's dream. You always wanted to become a doctor. You said that from small. What is this? Are you sure? He said, I'm afraid for you. You know, I'm afraid you're making a big mistake. And I said, no. I've seen the spiritual teacher twice now. I've seen something in his eyes, something in his soul that has moved me. I have explicit and implicit faith in him that whatever is to happen, well, only good will come out of it. He said, I'm your father. I'm afraid for you, but I can't interfere with your decision. My family had met the teacher also at some point. And of course, my children were too small. And they said, you know what, there was no objection because nobody understood exactly what was going to evolve and how it was going to evolve. And step by step, it started growing, you know, to what it has reached now, 32 years later. It's the most powerful disaster response agency, not only in the African continent, but in the world. But everything was spiritually guided, everything was shown out, everything was mapped out, and it grew at the right pace. And it drew in people from all religions and all colors and non-religion and non-faith, you know, it just drew in people with spirituality. Spirituality is the key that binds everybody in the organization. We don't look at what color you are, which religion you are, where you come from, what you pray, who you to pray to. That's irrelevant to us. The only thing that matters is that you have humanity in you and you share that humanity to serve humanity. That's all that matters. And using that philosophy, we've grown to where we are today, 32 years later. But to answer your question, you know, my father's the most, because my mother had passed on already in 1984. So my father's the only one who sort of said, you know what, he thinks this is crazy. And just to finish off, years later, he called me. He said, I wish I had the faith that you had. You made the right decision. I'm very proud of you. And I wish I could have half the faith that you had, but I support your feeling fully. And I'm very proud at what you've done by taking on this great task, you know, being brave enough and stepping into it. He passed on the 21st of February in 2016. It coincides with the date that my spiritual teacher passed on 21st February, 1999.
Wow, amazing. But take us practically through those first days in that first project. You maybe had your immediate family on board, your father skeptical. I'm sure many of your friends were skeptical. You have this incredible spiritual guidance and faith, but you have no instruction booklet. The first project was the war in Bosnia in 1992, a very complex situation. What practically did you do to start up the organization? Take us through those early days.
Well, the moment I came out of it, that same night, that same Thursday night, 6th August, it came to me, respond to the to the civil war in Bosnia. I came home, you know, I was involved in organization to some extent, pre-92. I got involved in Mozambique in 1990 when Saddam invaded Kuwait. Projects fell in Mozambique and we were called to help the Mozambican people. So I set up a Mozambique Relief Fund. We got involved in the Gulf War and we called it the Iraq Relief Fund. We got involved in the cyclone, that was 91. In 91 also there was a cyclone in Bangladesh and we responded to the cyclone in Bangladesh. We called it the Bangladesh Relief Fund. And the South African government at that point gave me a free ship to move aid from South Africa to Bangladesh. And as part of that mission, we were going up the Suez Canal to take trucks to the Turkish Red Crescent to be used to deliver aid into northern Iraq. It was on that trip that I met the spiritual teacher, and that's how I landed up going there because of the trucks to Turkey. So I'd already started building a network informally. And when it came, and when the instruction came to me formally on the 6th of August, 92, I came home and I used the same network to say we're going to respond to the civil war in Bosnia. And within a short space of time, I raised enough funds to take in 32 containers of aid of diverse items. I went in all alone myself. In November, 3 months later, I took in 8 containers of winter items. The chill factor in Eastern Europe could reach minus 21 degrees. There's no roof, no door, no window, no gas, no electricity, no heating, no warm jackets, hypothermia, bleeding, infection, cold, no mattresses, no blankets because of a war situation. And I took those 8 containers in. It was at that point that I realized the health services are messed up. And it came to me because I'd seen 2 containers in South Africa of health, a hospital containers, 2 of them. And I said to the Bosnian people, we should build a containerized mobile hospital. I had no idea what I was saying. I had no idea of a concept of a containerized mobile hospital. I just said it. It's something that came from inside me. And when I go back to South Africa, I find the company that built the 2 units. We sit together and we design the world's first containerized mobile hospital. A world first, a product of South African technology and South African engineering, 28 state-of-the-art units, theater, X-ray, ICU, sterilization, burns unit, physiotherapy unit, dental unit, casualty, orthopedics, pediatrics, gynecology, a backup support of generator, an ambulance, a bus, and 10 containers of backup supplies of sutures, swabs, antibiotics, IV fluids to run the hospital, and with diesel fuel to run an entire year if it's completely besieged. And that's exactly what we did. CNN filmed the hospital on the 1st of February in 94 and said the South African containerized mobile hospital is equal to any of the best hospitals in Europe. That project suddenly brought a lot of attention to us. And in South Africa, it started evolving not only as disaster. We started off as a disaster response agency, but somebody came and said, I need a bursary, I'm studying. I got into physiotherapy, but I got no money. We started bursaries. Somebody came and said, we're hungry, there's no food. We started feeding centers. Then people needed counseling service, and then they needed wheelchairs. So we evolved over 32 years into 21 different categories of projects, including providing fodder for animals, food for cats and dogs, building houses, agriculture, bee rehabilitation, invasive fish species that we catch, and and to protect the environment and supply fish to people who never eat that type of fish, but we had to acclimatize them to eat that kind of fish because they were protein, energy, malnourished. We went into hospitals. We were the biggest interveners in COVID in South Africa. We got involved in 210 hospitals in the country. We distributed oxygen machines, CPAP machines, high-flow nasal oxygen machines, a whole lot of different things. We got involved in a whole lot of disasters. We even did hostage negotiations in the Middle East. We released hostages from Al-Qaeda unconditionally, no ransom paid. We knew exactly what to do and how to do it without any training, because the teacher said, you will know what to do. And with each day, the media traveled with us, South Africans came to know us, our teams expanded, and the word just spread. It initially started off with family money, friends money, neighbor money, and slowly it spread as we intervened and became bigger. More and more support came, that now the country, from all diverse persuasions, churches, synagogues, Jews, Christians, Hindus, Muslims, those who say they don't have any belief, black, white, Indian, and now even foreigners are supporting us.
Wow. Well, that leads me to my next question, which you've partially answered. All of what you had described requires huge amount of cash as well as in-kind donations. I've been involved in fundraising for the last 10 years for Education Without Borders, and I know how difficult it is for people to donate. And part of it is that people are skeptical that their money is going to go where it's supposed to go. But your organization doesn't seem to need to go out and fundraise. The donations come pouring in. So my question is, what is your secret in building up this incredible reputation of trustworthiness, of ethics, especially in a country like South Africa, which sadly has systemic corruption, and it's not only South Africa, there's corruption throughout the world and a lot in charitable organizations. What is your secret? How do you maintain this spotless reputation?
It's again and the spiritual link. The spiritual teacher said, of course, there's a lot of prayer. What that kind of responsibility, we've given certain formulas of prayer to read. And he always says, remember, whatever is done through you and not by you. So the first thing to kill is the ego. To kill the ego is critical in this kind of work. To be honest and in integrity is critical. To be transparent. That's why the media travels with us. We bring them with us. We are so exposed. Everybody can see what we do. And the donors themselves say that if you're getting so much of media, you surely got nothing to hide because you're exposing yourself to the whole world, so often. We in the media are virtually 365 days a year with something somewhere in the country. We covered so extensively. And it's also starting to filter out overseas too. But teams travel with us. Journalists travel with us. The recipients called their families and corporate companies and said they were here. They brought this for us. They distributed that. So it's all recorded. Whatever we say, we do more than what we say. We say we bring in 10, we bring 15. It's that kind of approach. Because of the spiritual gift, we don't look for money. As a policy, we don't have fundraisers. We don't have people calling people for money. We don't make proposals. We don't call people. We don't go to people. Nothing. We just announce our projects. At times, we have to tell the people, please stop sending money. We've got enough for this project. We don't want it anymore. It doesn't work. They said, take it and use it for something else. I'll give you one classical example. When UCT, the University of Cape Town, caught on fire, we got involved instantly. Within 4 hours, we were on site. And we got the support of the students, the alumni, the corporates, everybody. At one point, and it was during COVID, and we were using the old mutual hall. They gave us a big center where everything is controlled in terms of spacing, social distancing, masking, so many people, all that kind of stuff, just because that is a company policy. After a few days, we made an announcement in the old mutual hall. All the big donors were right there. And we said, everybody, thank you very much. We don't need any more in kind. We don't need any more cash. We're fine. We can deal with it. All those same people that were in the hall, the next day, sent more cash and sent more in kind when we said we don't want it. So we asked them, what's wrong with you? They said, we made up our mind already. Take it and use it wherever you want.
That's incredible. It's such an inspiration to all charitable organizations. Can you tell us also a little bit about who makes up your team? Are they all South African? Do you have people in the field across the world? Are they paid? Are they all volunteers? Just talk to us about your team.
There's 2 aspects. The one is the bread and butter every day. Wheelchair, food parcel, loaded truck, winter warm. Response in South Africa. Floods here, drought there, fire here. All those team members are fully paid. They're non-medical. They're just very, very ordinary people who pack a truck, who drive a truck, who offload, who make parcels, and they give it out. Then we've got trained counselors. They paid. They're full-time with us, they paid. The medical teams and the search and rescue teams, we only need them during a massive disaster. I don't need them every day. They are not paid. They're all South African. They come from the private and the public sector. I have a core team of 70 people, of which at least 40 must be on any mission because they know the system. We then open it to outside people to add to the whole lot so we can train new people. You can have a great skill, but if you don't have the temperament for a disaster, you are useless to us. So we train you with your skill, but we train you in temperament and approach, in diplomacy and all that kind of issues. So the teams are very, very mixed across race and religion. Again, no religion, but they're highly skilled. They have the right temperament. We've intervened in 47 countries, not medical or search and rescue missions in all of them, but in quite a few of them. And in each mission, somebody learned something new. So and they are not paid. In fact, they are so sneaky, those people, those team members of mine, because I cover the hotel costs, I cover their flights, but I know they're losing a lot of money, especially in private practice, because every day, so many patients that they're losing thousands of rands. These same people, when they tell you they want to pay, I say no. They quietly come, they estimate the cost, and they put the flight money back into the account. they put the hotel money back into the account, and they put in like a commission money because the skill they've gained, the humanity they've experienced, and for the experience, they said this job is priceless. You can't pay for it. There's no money that can describe what we gained from this. And they quietly put in more money than what I pay for their cost. And they are the first ones that come over and over again. The moment the disaster hits, the messages come. The bags are packed. We are ready. When are we leaving?
It's incredible. But carrying on with your team. So, you and your team have seen some of the worst conditions in the world and some of the worst in human suffering. How do you retain your empathy, your belief in humanity? How do you process all this trauma?
People in 2020 heard of social or physical distancing because of COVID. I've been training my teams with emotional distancing long before that. We've trained our teams not to get attached to an individual, a child, a woman, an elderly person. You feel compassion for the situation. You don't get attached to the individual. The moment you get attached to the individual, you're finished. It's going to eat you. It's going to eat you. But yes, some of them don't follow the rule. They say it's just too difficult to be totally. I tell them we have to be heartless and cold and emotionless. It's very difficult to understand. I'm two people in one body. I'm compassionate on the one side, and in fact, my team members call me assassin, that I'm so cold on the other side. If I'm not that, I can't do what I do, because I do this 365 days a year for actually 34 years now, 2 years before Gift of the Givers. And in the process, you learn how to separate yourself from the people. But we have to have safeguards too. So in the evening, we have a debriefing every night. What the media teams, what people from government offices that are with us, South African government people, our teams, they sit together and they make jokes and they laugh, and you can see debriefing is taking place. They're dealing with some kind of trauma. Then they'll play cards, and there's few team members that got a very soft, natural way to deal with stress. And people aggregate towards those team members. We got one stage further. We said, now we need psychologists in the team to do trauma counseling. We never took psychologists for trauma counseling in the beginning, because the teaching was that in the first 30 days, it doesn't work. People are not interested in counseling. They're interested in finding their house, their children, their job, their income, that kind of stuff. There's new teaching now that says if we intervene within 24 hours, you can substantially stop PTSD. So we brought in two policies now. The trauma counselors to deal with reduce PTSD, and also to deal with our teams with secondary traumatization. We've gone one stage further now. After the earthquake in Turkey, although I said all these things, it still affected my teams. So we now have to look at pre-departure counseling, counseling before intervening, counseling during intervention, and counseling post-intervention. That's the new policy. But multiple, and our counseling division has grown exponentially. So we can deal with that kind of situation. We haven't had to apply it yet, because that's the last major disaster that we did, 6 February 2023, the Turkey earthquake. But we prepare for every new disaster when we learn from the old disaster. We look at equipment, we look at supplies, we look at portable items, how to cut costs, how to become more efficient, how to have better teams. We look at every aspect. Last year, at Stellenbosch University, we set up a disaster conference, probably the only type of conference in the world, where every member who spoke there was not theoretical, not from a textbook, not some kind of research. We were the research. We were the practical people. We drew from our own experience, and we taught the world how to respond in every crisis. We took test cases of different countries we intervened in, with different types of disasters, and we showed you step by step from the moment the first call came. We played voice notes, we played the sound, we played the clips of us talking to each other and what we do and how we do it.
Well, yeah, it's remarkable. Some people say that your organization is so efficient and so effective that, in fact, you're actually letting the government off the hook, as it were, because you respond so quickly to some of the crises in South Africa. And I'll give you an example, the floods of KwaZulu-Natal 2 years ago. That is very personal to me because I actually was there at the time. I watched as my brothers lost his home in Umdloti because of a big mudslide. Gift of the Givers was there immediately, handing out bottled waters, helping people who'd lost their homes in the settlements. What do you say to that sort of statement that, in fact, you were doing what the government should have been doing and was dragging its feet before they actually were effective?
Again, there's various aspects to this. Number one is that in terms of the disaster management teams, they're very, very good inside the government, the civil servants. The government, when we do it, they get held accountable by the public and the media to say, and it's said so often, why don't you guys do this? And they've called me in many times to ask me what is wrong with the system. And I said, the system, the problem with the system is you don't have one leader. You don't have one department dealing with disaster management. It's a combination of national government, provincial government, and the municipality. Is it the local government office, ministry? Is it the disaster management section? Is it human settlement? Is it water and sanitation? Is it the police? Who is it? They can't give you that answer. They don't know. And it's convenient because then nobody takes responsibility. Everybody blames somebody else. So you can't pinpoint somebody. The joke is, unofficially, Gift of the Givers is the official response for disasters inside South Africa and outside South Africa. The strange thing is that the government calls us. Disaster management calls us. The ministers call us. The municipality and the councils call us. But before that, the people from the ground, the communities, they call us first. They don't call government, they call us. And we get there faster than anybody else because the way we organize, we're doing this for 32 years. So we don't let government off the hook. We bring them in with us. But for the KwaZulu-Natal floods, the disaster center is right behind my office in Kondani in Pietermaritzburg. And the moment I walked inside there, when the teams from Cape Town came, they said, please brief everybody and tell us what to do. We were on site, but in fact, Umdloti was the second place we responded to. We went Tongaat, the morning of 12th April, the flood hit on the 11th. That same evening, we couldn't get from Tongaat to Isipingo. From Durban to Isipingo is 15 minutes. For 3 to 4 hours, because of the containers flowing on the road, all the trees falling down, the landslides, we couldn't get to Isipingo in 4 hours in something that takes 15 minutes. We changed direction because we got calls from Umdloti. They said we got all the expensive cars, all the expensive houses, all the money in the world, but we don't have water. And we had water in our vehicles, and they made a human chain with the people in Umdloti from our buckets, and they took it down, the embankment to the people in Umdloti. And from there onwards, of course, we had to change our system. We normally procure the goods ourselves, load it ourselves, pack it ourselves, and distribute it ourselves. The disaster was too huge to do that in 24 hours. So we brought in all the people we worked in over the years, and people in game reserves and in parks and in companies, the whole of KwaZulu-Natal became our volunteers. But because of transparency and honesty and integrity, we use people that have worked with us previously. And so instead of taking 50 days, in 72 days and 72 hours, we delivered to a lot of people extensively throughout the province. And we brought in search and rescue teams, we brought in the dogs, we brought in helicopters, we moved to earth-moving equipment. We helped in so many diverse ways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just astounded. And as I say, I could see for myself some of that incredible work that you did on the ground at that time. So Kevin's film was made in 2019. Since then, we're still embroiled in this terrible war in Ukraine and in Gaza. Do you have teams on the ground in those war zones?
In Ukraine, South Africans, quite a few South Africans are married in Ukraine. So we train the people in Ukraine how to deal with disasters. I was training them. We invested over 20 million of South African rands inside Ukraine. We taught them how to work in hospitals, how to move the front lines, how to move out, how to take care of the patients, not to brand their trucks, to remove the hospital signs and the stickers, everything from the ambulances, and how to move fast, how to be efficient. Within a very short space of time, a lot of agencies in Ukraine came to know about us. And then they were getting support from Europe in terms of items in kind, but they didn't have money to pay for the fuel. So we started supporting transport, moving from the eastern border in Poland, from the western border in Poland from the southern border and eastern border where the fighting was the most intense, we started funding vehicles to move essential equipment. They had the equipment, they had the supplies, but they had no means to move it, they had no funds. So we made that available, plus we bought supplies. We trained them how to find factories that sell items at a discounted price. Normally, no prices go up, people exploit. But they found companies that were prepared to give half free, three-quarter free, reduced price, and we trained them how to buy, what to buy, where to go to institutions, to go to the fields, to go to schools, and we supported them in every way to look after themselves. And we managed to get aid into various areas inside Ukraine using Ukrainian people. There was no South Africans on site. In Gaza itself, I've been there since 2009. I have offices there, I have teams there, I have buildings there, I have health clinics there. Everything is bombed, it's destroyed. I've lost my office, the head of my office. He was killed after prayer on the morning of 16 November. And my team members have lost 175 family members. 3 weeks ago, a Canadian and American organization gave us 26,000 tents. And then they told the Israeli government that gift of the gifts is going to control this. The answer was yes, they can do it. We were told to give the coordinates of where our 4 team members were going to be operational from. Very skeptically and we were not sure and not certain, we gave it. The next day, they struck a rocket and killed all those 4 people. Mm. So we've lost our Women and Child Care Center, we've lost our health center, we've lost our desalination plants, we've lost our trucks, we've lost our staff, we've lost our supplies, but we continue. We still get aid in, we still get support in, not the extent to what we wanted. For the first 60 days, we bought items inside Gaza, whatever we could get from wherever we could get it. We managed to get some stuff in. We're looking after Palestinians outside Gaza. We're looking after them in the Rafah border outside. We're looking after them in Egypt. And 3 weeks ago, we made a world first. We brought in 27 final year medical students to study in the University of Cape Town in South Africa. It was the first initiative of its type in the world. And they've already started. Wits University has now agreed. 21 are coming in September. Pretoria University is going to take 10 that are studying in Oslo University right now. The Oslo University called me and said, in 3 months' time, it's only this phase of the year where we teach English to all international students. But back in January, we go back to our language. These kids are not going to understand a word we're saying. Can you take them over? I spoke to Pretoria University. They said, send the whole lot. And now what it's saying, from first year to 6th year, we'll take everybody. When University of Western Cape said we'll take the dental students, but also said we take allied health sciences, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, whatever you want to send, we'll take them. Whilst doing that, there's 2,000 plus students inside Gaza still, who are in various years of study. They can't study. So our South Africa built a system in a cloud where all the syllabi of first year to 6th year are put into that cloud, and these students are now accessing it from Gaza and outside to do continuous medical education and learning for first year to 6th year. We are funding that entire system. So, and also non-Gaza students from Sudan and from other parts of the world, everyone wants to access it, it's free. You can get on the system, you can learn. And the professors and the educational people from all over the world are now putting the lectures onto the system so anybody can use it. Trinity College in Dublin has offered all the expensive videos to be loaded onto the system so it can be used for free. So we're funding the technology, the software, the licenses, and everything that's required to make it freely accessible, not only to Gaza, but whoever wants it.
That's just absolutely amazing. That's fantastic to hear that. I'm going to bring Kevin back into the conversation now, Kevin. There's almost enough material now to have a part 2 of your film, I'm sure. But what I'd like to ask you is, in the making of the film, Best Among People, did you learn anything? Did it change you at all?
No, I certainly learned a lot. I just pick up on Dr. Soliman's recommendation of emotional distancing. When one takes on a project, one is not an expert on that project. One starts off knowing nothing about it, and you get to know it. you form relationships with people, you develop trust, you develop mutual respect, etc., etc. So all those things occurred. I mean, the thing about that film may be what was made in 2019, but nothing's changed. The situations in that film, as the viewers will see, there's wars, there's natural disasters, there's hostages, there's, the world is in a mess. The world continues to be in a mess, and Gift of the Givers is there. And yeah, it's just, I guess, what stayed with me again and reinforced with me was the humanity and everyday, ordinary South African people of every mixed creed, color, and religion. And that's what's important, particularly from a country like South Africa, where we have everything is racial or, kind of whatever. These are people that just kind of respond, and they go to where they can do good. And it's the humanity. And I think it's not something I learned. It's just something that I appreciated as I got deeper and deeper and deeper into this film. And as I say, the situations were particular then in terms of the various crises that Gift of the Givers was dealing with, but the principles are the same. And when, it was Haiti or Mozambique then, so it's somewhere else today, but they're doing the same thing with exactly the same commitment and the same passion and the same commitment to humanity. And I can only respect that.
Thank you for that. Yes, I think what really strikes me is that this is such an amazing international organization, but I don't really think a lot of people in North America are aware of it. So I'm actually very grateful to Kevin for making this film so we can actually bring it to the attention of North America and to see that this is actually rooted in South Africa. There is a lot of good publicity that comes out of South Africa, but there's also a lot of bad publicity. And for the world, the rest of the world, because of course South Africans know the Gift of the Givers very well, but for the rest of the world, I think it's just so good that we have an opportunity to share the humanity that comes with Gift of the Givers. So thank you both so much for being part of this interview and for telling us more about your organization, Dr. Soliman, and for making this film, Kevin. I'm so grateful to you. I'm going to ask you to just give a final comment. Maybe one thing you'd like the audience to take from the film, or if you have any final comments to make, Dr. Soliman.
I like the idea that we want people to know Gift of the Givers are. That don't look at Africa with a bad light. We in Africa, we have skills, we have humanity, we have compassion. We've helped people all over the country, all over the continent, all over the world. And I tied there's 4 important principles I want every human being on this planet to imbibe and to live with. If they do that, the world will be a much greater place. And the 4 principles are spirituality, morality, values, and ethics. If all of us learn that and teach to our children and the next generation, corruption, fighting, war, disrespect, discord, confrontation, disorder will leave. Spirituality will override everything. You don't have to belong to any religion. You just got to be human. And if you do that, in the future years, the decades to come, we'll have a much better, safer world.
Thank you, Dr. Soliman. Kevin.
Thank you, Dr. Soliman. I can only echo that. And I can only ask people to watch the film. The film speaks for itself. I've actually, it was made 2019. I haven't viewed. I sat this afternoon and I viewed it again because we were going to have this, and I emotionally overwhelmed because, as I say, it's just the humanity. And Thank you, Dr. Soliman. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you both
Thank
so
you.
much. Yes, I think in this world where we are just almost sort of overwhelmed by the inhumanity, it's just a breath of fresh air to know that there are organizations and people like Dr. Soliman who are so full of humanity. And thank you both so much. I really appreciate your taking the time to talk to me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.